Natalie flyGIRL Kelley, and I'm here at ICAS in Las Vegas, and I've met some really great people here and been able to really share their stories, and I'm really excited about all these females in aviation that I've met. Before we get started with this interview, I want to ask you to please subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at flyGIRL Kelley. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Brittany Nielsen, and I work with the GN AIRSHOWs, Grant Nielsen AIRSHOWs, as an air show announcer. So this has been a fun job that I've picked up on the side, but really enjoying aviation and everything to do with aviation.
How did you get into it?
That's a great question. So I went to an air show later in life, and I saw one of my favorite pilots, John Moore, in the Stearman in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and he did the falling maple leaf and skimmed across the grass, and I was mesmerized. And so that year I went to Oshkosh Air Venture, and I have to tell you, I thought it was going to be all like 747s lined up. I had no concept of general aviation. And so I went there for 4 days, and I was a sponge. I soaked it all in and met my husband at an air show, and he asked me to announce for him, which I had never done. But I loved it. I loved talking about it, sharing the stories. I say I share the stories from the sky. And it's all about bringing people into the cockpit and making it attainable and also making it enjoyable. So that's the fun part of air show announcing.
My name is Brittany Nielsen. I have the privilege to announce for the GN Air Show team and my husband, Grant Nielsen, in the Cat 232 we call bubbles.
Okay, so once you did the air show announcing for your husband's team, does he have a team?
Nope, just a solo act.
Okay,
yep.
And then he flies what?
He flies a Cap 232 that we call Bubbles. It's red and yellow polka dot, and
cool.
Yeah, we hand out bubbles during the air show, so it's kind of a fun little niche.
Yeah. What would differentiate you from other air show announcers?
I am who I am. I'm not trying to imitate other announcers. We have so many amazing air show announcers, and I learn from all of them. I'm critiqued by most of them. I just ask for help and support. But I love making it real. I love talking about the emotion, the feeling, adding in the technical flair, but also talking to women my age, talking to someone who's in their 30s or 40s who it's not a child. They've never been in aviation, and making it realistic for them as well, and talking about what it's like and what's that feeling in the cockpit. My husband didn't start air shows didn't start flying until he was 30. So we have a lot of different pilot stories, and that's what I love to do, is just share those stories.
How do you engage the audience?
I like to ask questions. I want to know what are they curious about. I remember sitting at my first air show, and I was terrified watching some of them come down to the ground, and they barely missed. And you'll hear people ask, how long have they been doing that? How do I get started? Oh, it's too late for me. And those are the conversations I love having, because it's not too late, right? Or even get a ride with someone. And then just talking about what they are enjoying most. And you hear everything. That's a time to plug sponsors of our pilots, of our programs, our air shows, and the kids. You know, the greatest thing for kids is, what's your favorite thing? And they're pointing and they're talking and they hear themselves on the microphone. And guess what? Mom and dad and the family are recording it, and it's all over. And that's great business for the air show, for the community, and for families, because they're now a part of the show. They didn't just come to the show. Our job as an air show announcer is to engage the audience, is to bring more people to support all of our sponsors, our volunteers, our organizers, and our pilots. And one bad announcement can throw off a show. So it's really about, how can I do this better? Every single show can be better.
So what else do you do besides announcing?
So my full-time job is a campus director. So the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, Barron County is a branch campus in my hometown. And so I run all operations and student affairs for the university. And working working on finishing up my doctorate and my pilot's license.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So, yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. This is so
Chatting with you.
You're amazing. I love it.
Introduced us. That was great.
Yeah.
All right. So, Brittany, great job. Hopefully, I've got a couple other people I'm going to meet here at ICAS. It's been a great few days. Met a lot of cool women involved in aviation, and just want to encourage all you women out there that there's a lot you can do in aviation. If you love aviation as much as we do,
Absolutely.
then get out there and look for opportunities to volunteer, help, and you can learn from people like Brittany to pursue any kind of interest that you have in aviation. I have met someone really cool and interesting here that I thought she could share her story.
So hi, I'm Caroline Dougherty and I love aviation. I have my private pilot's license. I grew up on an airport and I just always wanted to be a pilot. And on my 16th birthday, I actually made my first solo flight, and it was in a 1917 Curtiss Jenny and also a 1932 Taylor E-2.
Okay, and how old are you right now?
I'm 17.
Okay, and why are you at ICAS?
Well, my dad flies air shows in a Kristen Eagle, and I travel around with him as his crew chief, business manager, and my favorite one, his announcer. So when he's out flying his routine, I'm up on the announcer stand, just narrating what he's doing.
Cool. So has he been doing that a long time?
Yeah, he's been flying shows since I was born, but in the last 3 years he moved into the Kristen Eagle.
Okay.
So now we're just getting a lot more involved in the circuit.
What are your plans in aviation?
So I would love to compete and hopefully make it on the world team and represent the U.S. at the world competition, and also fly air shows, because it's an amazing family and it's just a lot of fun.
Tell people what is involved in getting to that point where you can perform.
Based off of what I've seen my dad do, and what I've seen all my idols work through, it's just years and years of dedication and practice. And it's not only just you have to learn how to fly the plane and do each maneuver, it's just a whole mental thing too. You have to be in the cockpit, ready to fly, concentrated. And especially on the airshow circuit too, it's more than just your 12 minutes in the air. You have to have the airshow personality.
Would you consider that dangerous?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not 110%, you shouldn't fly.
Yeah, I'm sure. So he has a routine, and you know what that's going to be. So when you're announcing it, are you talking to him at the same time?
We do. Well,
communicate with him?
in the beginning, we kind of work through it. Sometimes, depending on who the announcer is at the show, like we'll sometimes do something together and go back and forth, and sometimes I'll do it myself. But usually I introduce him, and then we just talk about what he's doing and talk about him and his story and how he got to this point. And towards the end, which is my favorite part, we go live to the cockpit and talk back and forth.
Okay, yeah,
So,
that is cool.
yeah.
Is there anyone else that's been inspiring to you?
I went to Oshkosh in 2014, but I watched Patty Wagstaff fly, and it was just kind of like a moment like,
I want to do that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then I got to meet her, and I eventually got to fly with her too,
Oh
and
my
it was
gosh.
just an amazing experience.
That is awesome.
Just to know that like she knows so many people, but yet she always takes the time for me, and it means so much to me.
What would be the steps for someone like me to learn how to do that if I don't have like a real family member connection?
Yeah, I would just say get involved with IAC, go to air shows, try to talk to as many pilots as you can. And yeah, if you get involved with IAC, they have, I know some places do like orientation flights and stuff like
What's
that.
IAC?
International Aerobatic Club.
Okay, all right. So are there any females that, other than Patty, that you feel like you have maybe inspired or kind of, or have inspired you with a little bit of the aviation, like, oh, well, maybe I could do that?
Yeah, my friends, they think it's cool.
Yeah.
But it's not really, like they don't know enough about it to really be, I don't know how to say it, like to think, oh my gosh, it's so cool.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So yeah, I take them flying and they enjoy that, but that's pretty much, like it's not to the point where they want to go out and learn how to fly.
Yeah. Well, you're
And-
exposing them to that, so that's
Yeah,
cool.
and I try to do that. And same with like a lot of other people, like I also write stories. I've written for General Aviation News and actually the 99s. It should be this issue coming out with a story. And at air shows, a lot of times when people see a girl out there, then they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And same with my first solo video. I think that has, I don't know if it's inspired people to become a pilot, but I think it's definitely touched some people. Growing up, our house is actually like right on a grass strip.
Okay.
And at that airport there's a museum. It's a nonprofit called the Golden Age Air Museum. And it's just a collection of vintage aircraft. Some of the stuff like personally belongs to us, but the rest just belongs to the museum. So we have a lot of volunteers that come and help us maintain them, and they get to fly them too.
So what would you say to a young girl that maybe doesn't have any family in aviation. How could she find out more or learn to fly or figure out if that's something that she would want to do?
Yeah, I say just go to the local airport. And it's funny because like years ago when my dad was growing up, he would always tell me stories about like all the airport kids that would go hang out by the fence and watch all the airplanes land. But they're really, like, especially with our airport, we see that there's not any of that anymore today. So just if you want to learn how to fly, go out to the airport, talk to pilots, offer to watch their plane, and they'll probably take you flying. And yeah, and then once you start, find a good flight school, find a good instructor, and then just don't stop until you achieve what you're trying to.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
it was really nice to meet you, and I'm glad it worked out.
I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay.
We're here in Vegas at ICAS, and I met someone very similar to my name, Natalia, and
Hi, everyone.
I thought that she would be someone that would be great for people to learn from. She has done some things in aviation for a long time. And we are having some mimosas for this Cockpits and Cocktails interview. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel and follow me, flyGIRL Kelley, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You and your husband, what is his name?
My husband's Brittany Nielsen.
Okay.
I kind of assist him with his team, Extreme Flight. We call it a team because it's two. We're a dynamic duo. So on the air show aspect of things, I help do all the media and marketing because my background is in journalism. So I do everything from website creation, design, marketing, promo material, getting him sponsors. That's one thing that I've actually been working on for the past 3 years, is really expanding our sponsorship. That's what I do for him.
So how long has he been doing air shows?
He's been doing air shows probably the past 5 years. He used to do competition, so he came from a competition background, and his father taught him to fly. So he's been flying since he's 7 years old.
Wow.
He's super passionate. That's what I love about him. Like, he's always promoting the art of aviation.
Now tell me what else, because when we were talking, you had some other things that you were involved in aviation. What's your history?
So growing up, my mom and my father are both in, well, they work, it's aviation, but they work for American Airlines. So I kind of grew up like literally under one of the runways by O'Hare. And I fell in love with that part of aviation. While I was going to school, I needed a job. So 18, I started working at the airport. That was my main thing. I worked for American Airlines for a while as a ticket agent. So I worked there for a little bit, but I wanted more. Like, I knew that there was something more that I wanted to do. So then I started pursuing just different avenues within aviation. So I became an auditor for a regional airline where I would go from station to station and just do like safety and compliance. So when it comes to runway safety, I would conduct audits, like make sure that the runways are safe. Construction, any type of construction, I would be involved in make sure that everyone's working safely. When it came to like emergency response, if there was like any type of emergency, they would call it in and I would drive the ops vehicle and respond to those emergencies. So yeah, when it comes to like aviation, I think I'm more on the like customer service side and like safety side of things.
So you went to school to become, or you studied journalism because you like to write?
Correct, yeah. So my passion's been in writing, just whether it be writing my own little articles or whatever. So I went to Columbia College for a while, and I was focusing on broadcasting journalism. That was like my passion. But after a while, I noticed that my niche was more so print, because I like to tell a story, but I wanted to be more like behind the scenes. So as I was going to school, I was working at American and kind of doing both at the same time. So then I worked for NBC5 for a little bit to work on their online publication. And I just continued to write for small publications.
Like, people don't know, the general public doesn't really know how this whole, all the air shows get set up and how you try to sell your services at this, you know,
they don't realize how much work it is, especially from a performer standpoint. Like, it's not just as, you know, Patrick doesn't just get up and fly. There's a lot of prep time involved. And I was actually thinking of like writing or blogging or something. I'm still kind of figuring that out. Like, from all season he's prepping. He's got to practice. He has to be mentally in the right mindset to fly. He's also a pilot. He's a captain for Republic.
And what do you do for him exactly with your team?
Like, I do a lot of budgeting because you know we don't have the funds to. It's an expensive sport. So I'm constantly looking for, you know, different types of promo material that I can like push out there. So I'm constantly like looking for different ideas when it comes to marketing. Like, how can I market him? How can I get his name out there? How can I show people who and what he is? So I'm from the support side. I do anything when it comes to just media marketing. Whenever I write his bio, I write whatever shows he's at. Write to sponsors, get sponsorship. If I see a product, I'm like, hey, babe, we should really. This could be a good deal.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly looking for companies that are kind of, I don't want to say beginning, but that need that exposure, that are out there, but people don't necessarily know that they're out there.
Well, I think when you meet people, I mean, that's why I love things like this, because you meet all kinds of people and you kind of take little bits and pieces from some of their ideas, and things that you like that are appealing to you, and you think, oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that.
From 4 years ago till now, like there's a change. There's a lot of new talent out there, which I definitely want to start tapping into. Most people that I've talked to consider this more so as a hobby, but there are those that want to make it a full-time, career. But it does take a lot of time, a lot of money,
Yeah, definitely.
a lot of networking, and it's not just, okay, I have a show, I'm going to fly it. That's what the general public doesn't really see. There's a lot that's involved in it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You have to be present. You have to be, constantly putting your name out there, constantly creating new ideas, networking. When I started revamping Patrick's just vision, because when I first met him, he had no website. He didn't have anything. I'm like, honey. And the more I got involved, the more I started bringing different ideas and creating I made him into a personality.
Yeah.
That's when
people
we started.
know kind of what they're getting when they, this person represents this. Kind of have a clear picture of what that show is all about.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
Oh, I hope I helped.